Alright, it's time. I'm finally talking about AI, but not in the way you think I will. Cheers. Welcome back everybody to me talking about something book adjacent, sort of, maybe. And this is in fact a video about artificial intelligence or the use of generative AI in content creation at the moment. It's not the artificial intelligence video that I'm working on. That will come hopefully next week. But this is something that sort of spun out of that because I had something that I wanted to talk about and it doesn't really fit into the video that will be more about the big tech, the current AI tech corporations, venture capital, the whole 9 yards of the industry side of things. And this here is about people who use it right now, and that just didn't really fit into this, so I decided to make an additional video, so to speak, basically. So this is a video about artificial intelligence used in content creation and why that's a problem and so forth. So that's what we're gonna do. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about capitalism, why it sucks, and all of that good stuff. And then you can wait for the real artificial intelligence video, hopefully coming next week or thereabouts, as soon as I'm done recording it. So let's do that. Alright, so let's start with an anecdote. See, as you may have noticed, this YouTube channel is in fact monetized, so I'm technically part of the YouTube Partner Program. And for whatever reasons, YouTube invited me last year to do some workshops in that partner program to learn how to be a better YouTuber, because YouTube obviously wants people to make more money because, you know, they take a cut of all of these ads, so they kind of like that. And since then, from time to time, I sit through online Zoom calls, basically video calls, where someone from YouTube explains with slides and everything to a group of YouTubers how to do specific YouTube things. Sometimes they explain how, you know, analytic tools work, sometimes they talk about the terms of service, sometimes they talk about planning something. It's all over the place, and sometimes I learn something. Most of the time I learn how not to do stuff, because my approach to doing YouTube is very different from YouTube's approach to YouTube, I guess. But it's always interesting to see that side of things. And as you may guess from the title of this video, last week I was in one of those training sessions, and it was about artificial intelligence productivity tools. That's the word here. So it was a Zoom call, or like a different software, but it was like a video call, and some people working for YouTube explained to over 200 people in that call how to use Gemini AI for all kinds of ways of how to make YouTube videos, by, you know, asking it how to come up with an idea for a video, then using Gemini AI to you know, do research, then write a script, create a thumbnail, create a video title. Basically everything could be automated by, you know, that specific model of AI, in this case Gemini, because it's, you know, Google. Anyway, and I was horrified because I really don't like that approach to creating anything, and I think it's very much not the kind of style I want to do. But and some other creators were also somewhat critical of the whole idea, but a lot of people were very, very happy about AI and were impressed by like how good it works by now and how well they can use it to, well, create more videos faster. And that's something I wanted to bring up because it's certainly something that shocked me, but also made me think. And this is where we are now, which is why I'm making this specific video, because I think I've figured something out here. And I feel we need to talk about that before we can talk about other aspects of AI, where we are all very angry about, you know, big corporations using generative AI to create covers for books or anything else, and how that's bad. So let's talk about individuals using artificial intelligence to create content and why they might be doing that and why it's in fact not really good. Let's start with something very fundamental, and that is that in the West in particular, but generally in most parts of the world by now, we have for a while had one specific sort of way of looking at the world, which you might call neoliberalism and capitalism, right? And one of the fundamental promises of capitalism has always been, you do your work, you know, go to school, you maybe go to university, or you just learn a job, you work in that job, you will be at least well off enough to, have a comfortable life. That's sort of the promise, right? You work, and that work pays off enough. That has been the promise of capitalism for a long time. Now, as you may have noticed, that promise does no longer hold, and a larger and larger part of society knows that that promise doesn't work, especially younger generations, millennials and Gen Z, for example, right? We kind of know that even though we, go to university, do all the things, we will probably not get rich of this. That fundamental promise is broken. And capitalism in general feels like it might be in a bit of a crisis. And that's the first thing we need to understand. Because one thing that we know from history is that when a society is in crisis, when in an economic crisis in particular, right? People try to find other ways of, making money, basically, right? And that other way is, well, sometimes it's crime, but it's also very often gambling. We know that, like, for example, during the Great Depression, people did more gambling than they usually do when, everyone is comfortably well off because the system is working, right? So we need to understand that in crisis modes, people start gambling because it feels like maybe that's one way of still making economic headway. All right? Perfect. Now, let's look at the world and the internet and gambling, because a lot of this has happened for a long time. And we see this, one wave after the other where people start gambling in the hopes of maybe finding a way to become monetarily successful in a way that your proper jobs don't do. One of these ways was, of course, cryptocurrencies, where everyone started investing in crypto for a while, and it turns out it's just gambling, and the only people getting rich are, of course, people that were rich before that because they can, afford to invest big. The same goes with NFTs, which are, a bit of a thing growing out of crypto, of course. And another option was, of course, the Wall Street bets, gambling, investing, stock buying stuff around GameStop and so forth, right? Where once again, people tried to sort of win by somehow slightly cheating the system or gambling at the system, because we have reached that point where a lot of people feel that the economy is basically gambling, and some people are just very lucky and get to, be really rich, but you need to kind of gamble because, the proper job stuff doesn't really work anymore. So yes, Wall Street bets was another option of this gambling. And as it turns out, creating content is another of these options and has been around for a long time. Like, even when I started this channel like 5 years ago, there were like a lot of people on YouTube creating content on like how to become, rich doing content stuff, by becoming a YouTuber, by writing an ebook and selling it and getting that lovely, lovely, lovely passive income. That has been around for a long time. Interestingly enough, there have always been a lot of people selling courses that explain how to do the thing, which is then create some form of content and live of that. I suspect it's the usual thing where selling the shovels is much more lucrative than actually, producing actual content. But yeah, it has been around for a long time. Now, why is this important? Well, I mean, once again, content creation, and I'm using content here, not using art or whatever, because writing a book can be creating art. Making a YouTube video can be creating art. But once you produce it as a commodity to make money off, at that point, we're creating content, and that is important here. Now, let's start from there. Content creation has always been one way where people thought that we could maybe get around the usual systems, because we have seen people become very rich by selling self-published books on Kindle Direct Publishing and Kindle Unlimited. Like, Colleen Hoover is a big name became a big name by selling romances online, self-published, for example. We have seen YouTubers become fabulously rich. So the idea of we can maybe actually get ahead by this without actually having to go through a very complex process of doing hard work, studying, and so forth, feels like online content creation does make that feel reasonable, or at least possible in a lot of ways. Now, the secret is, of course, that yes, writing a good book and being successful as a writer still involves a lot of hard work and, writing and learning how to write and so forth. Being a successful YouTuber, if you want to make really good YouTube videos, that will involve a lot of hard work and possibly a lot of investing in good gear, in learning how to edit videos, or paying someone to edit videos. A lot of hard work goes into that, so it's never as easy as it seems. But because of the way that social media and digital media in general works, it feels like it might be easy. And we all kind of feel like, well, of course we can all write a book. Probably not, but it feels like that. So content creation as a way to monetary success has been around for a long while as one way of maybe striking it big, because the standard forms of capitalism don't really work anymore. It is, of course, gambling. Because content creation means that you, put something up in the hopes that other people will see it and you get maybe paid for that. Obviously, you just get a cut of whatever earnings the platform owners take in, because Amazon owns Kindle Direct Publishing and so forth. So if you write an ebook and it becomes successful, Amazon makes a lot of money of that. You also make some money of that. If you produce YouTube videos, Google makes a lot of money of that. You also make some money of it. Which is, why really successful YouTubers often, do sponsorships and have Patreon and other ways of also making money, because YouTube ad money is not exactly a lot and it varies a lot, and it's and so forth. But there is still that dream. So it has always been gambling, because the more people do this, and this is important to understand, right? The more people upload content, whether it's writing ebooks or producing videos or anything else, the more stuff there is on one of these platforms, the smaller the chance that someone will actually get your specific piece of content and pay you for this. So the more people do this, the less likely it is that you will actually succeed at this, which is where the gambling part comes in. Now, obviously, platform owners want there to be more stuff because they earn a cut from every single thing that is uploaded there. They don't care about the success of one individual content creator. They care about the amount of content that is produced. So there are already two different motives here when we talk about this. And the thing is, of course, that on these platforms, the platform owners are the people that make the rules. They are the house in this gambling thing, right? They create the algorithms that recommend stuff or don't recommend stuff and so forth. And we as content creators basically can just do the one thing, which is create content, upload it, and hope that it works. It's very much like a slot machine. We just press the button and hope that something good comes out of it. And yes, not all of us do that at the same moment, but that's basically how the system is built. And a lot of people start creating content in the hopes of actually striking it big, and in the hopes of, winning at this lottery, basically. So this is where we are and have been for the longest time. Now we come to artificial intelligence and why this situation right now has been so frustrating to me in a lot of ways. See, artificial intelligence, in this case, generative AI, large language models that can help create content in one way or another. They can do that. They will get you something very, very boring, statistical averages of whatever, and so forth. We've all talked about how, and you've probably heard enough people talk about how that shit sucks. But what they do is they can produce enough just content, right? So if we are people that try to, gamble by creating content in the hopes that we get rich of that, if we get a tool that allows us to create more content, to upload more stuff more quickly, with even less work, that is very tempting, because it allows us to press that button on the slot machine more times, more easily, a lot more. And that's where the AI thing kind of comes in, right? So there is, for a certain group of people, there is a temptation to use generative AI to create more content, whether it's use generative AI to write a book and upload it on Kindle. Whether it is use generative AI to create a video, create the visuals, do the voiceover, do basically everything. You can automate the whole fucking process by now. And it is tempting for a lot of people. Now, here's why this is actually bad, beyond, the usual stuff that, generative AI is, boils the planet by using way too much energy, has traumatized thousands of click workers in the global south that did content moderation while training these models and so forth. It is bad in all of these ways. But beyond that, here's where the stuff gets problematic. See, it turbocharges the whole idea of creating more content of gambling and swamping all these platforms, right? If more and more people use AI, generative AI, to write books and upload them on Amazon, Amazon profits by having more books on their marketplace and getting a cut of each of these sales. But the more you upload, the smaller the chance that one individual piece will actually become successful, which is bad for all of us who do in fact try to create, possibly even make art, because our chances of being seen are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The same for YouTube. If someone can upload 10 AI generated videos per day, I can only do 1 video per day, possibly, if I try hard. My chances of my video being seen, even if it would be really, really good, are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And by using generative AI, this stuff, as I said, gets sped up. The process gets sped up, and the numbers go higher and higher and higher and higher. And that is obviously even worse. That's bad for anyone trying to create content. It's also really bad for all of you trying to watch stuff on YouTube or find cool books on, say, Amazon or wherever, right? On any of these platforms, because it gets harder for you to find the kind of content that you're actually interested in, the kind of videos you want to watch, the kind of books you want to read and so forth, because you too have to wade through this massive swamp of slop, of AI-generated slop. So it's bad for you as well. The only people that are, profiting from this and benefiting of this are, of course, the owners of these platforms, because they get a cut of everything that happens here, which is, why someone like Yanis Varoufakis calls all of us cloud serfs, because we work on the cloud, and just by using these platforms, we are generating rent to the platform owners, even though we are not actually, officially working or anything of the sorts. So yeah. We are in this situation. And there is a final thing that I feel is really important. Because, see, while I was in that call, one thing came up again and again. Because, obviously, for the demonstrations, they were using Gemini AI, but the pro version, which costs money. So a lot of people were asking whether there might be a discount for YouTubers to use generative AI, use Gemini, which is owned by Google, which also owns YouTube, right? It's Alphabet. And this is where we come back to the whole selling the shovels, right? Because what Google does by promoting the use of its own generative AI thing, they are selling the generative AI tool to YouTubers who then use that specific thing, for which they will have already paid Google to create YouTube videos or any form of slop and upload it on Google's platform to make Google more money. The company makes money on all of these sides. And the only people really suffering from this are, people like us trying to either create content or watch content, and the people that actually paid whatever it costs to have a Gemini Pro account, in the hopes that they will actually make back that money through YouTube, which, chances are very slim for most of us to actually do that. So yeah, it's gambling. It's automated gambling by now. It's speeding up, and the only people actually benefiting from it are the owners of these platforms that also sell us the AI tools to create more slop for their platforms and so forth. It's a circle. It's a circle that is speeding up, and it's bad. So why did I make all of this video right now? Why did I ramble so much? I think it's important to understand that while I do, in fact, despise the use of generative AI for, creating content, I think it's bad. We shouldn't do that. I think it is also important that we understand where people are coming from, why people are doing it. And individuals who feel that they have no other option but to do this and use generative AI to create content in the hopes of maybe making it financially, I think that's understandable. And the solution is not just, telling people not to use AI, which, yes, we should always do, even with individuals. But the solution can only be create a system, create a world in which people don't feel they have to gamble by creating content in the way that we are doing right now, because other options are actually available. That's the fundamental thing. This is happening because capitalism is fundamentally broken, and we need to acknowledge that, and we need to understand that individuals may make these choices out of necessity and not because they are evil or stupid or whatever. And giving people that amount of grace, I think, is important. Now, obviously, there are people who are very much doing this because they are evil and stupid, and these people we need to definitely call out. And obviously, if corporations are using it, if a big publisher uses generative AI to create artworks, to sell books that were written by generative AI and so forth, then we definitely need to really call out those corporations because, yeah, they're part of the problem. But when it comes to individuals, I think it's important to understand that this may come out of this feeling of desperation and having no other valid options left. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about. The other AI video will be coming very soon. Let me know what you think about all of this down in the comments. I don't know, like, subscribe, join the Patreon if you feel like it, join the channel if you feel like it. But yeah, let me know what you think about it. I'll see you when I talk about books again. And until then, thanks and cheers.